Picture this: Beverly Hills, a mansion bathed in California sunlight, the very image of the American dream. This was the home of the Menendez family, a symbol of immense wealth and success. The tranquility was broken by a frantic 911 call. On the line was Lyle Menendez, his voice choked with panic, claiming he and his younger brother Erik had just returned home to a horrifying scene. Two sons, suddenly orphaned, left to navigate a world of grief. The police arrived at the sprawling estate to find a scene of unimaginable violence. Lyle and Erik appeared devastated, clinging to each other for support. The community mourned with them. But as the initial shock wore off, something didn't feel right. The detectives assigned to the case, Les Zoller and Tom Edmonds, started noticing cracks in the brothers' story. While they were supposed to be grieving, Lyle and Erik embarked on an astonishing spending spree. We're talking Rolex watches, a Porsche, a new condo, even a restaurant business. In just 6 months, they burned through an estimated $700,000 of their parents' fortune. Their behavior was less like morning sons and more like lottery winners. This raised a huge red flag for the investigators. Was this grief, or was it a celebration? The suspicion grew heavier with each extravagant purchase. The public, once sympathetic, began to whisper, how could these boys be so callous after such a horrific loss? The case, however, lacked a smoking gun. There was no physical evidence directly linking the brothers to the crime scene. The shotguns used in the murder were never found. For months, the investigation stalled. The police had their suspects, but they couldn't make a move. The brothers, meanwhile, continued to live their lavish new lives, seemingly without a care in the world. It seemed like they might just get away with it. Then, the case took a dramatic turn, thanks to a confession. But it wasn't to the police. A guilt-ridden Erik Menendez couldn't hold the secret in any longer. He confessed everything to his psychologist, Dr. L. Jerome Azil. He detailed the entire plan, the execution of their parents, everything. Normally, these sessions are protected by patient confidentiality. But things got complicated. Dr. Ozil's mistress, Judalon Smythe, overheard the confession tapes and, fearing for her own safety, eventually went to the police. This was the breakthrough the detectives had been waiting for. After a lengthy legal battle over the tapes, a judge ruled that some of the confessions were admissible in court. The dam had broken. In March 1990, Lyle Menendez was arrested outside his mansion. Erik, who was in Israel for a tennis tournament, surrendered to authorities upon his return. The perfect facade of the grieving orphans had crumbled, revealing a much darker picture. The arrest sent shockwaves through Beverly Hills and the entire nation. The stage was now set for one of the most sensational trials of the century. The trial began, and the world was captivated. It was broadcast live on Court TV, turning the legal proceedings into a national spectacle. The prosecution painted a simple, damning picture. Lyle and Erik were greedy, spoiled brats who killed their parents to inherit their $14 million fortune. They wanted the money, and they wanted it now. The spending spree after the murders was presented as Exhibit A for their cold-blooded motive. To the prosecution, this wasn't a complex case. It was a straightforward story of parricide fueled by greed. But then, the defense presented its case, and the narrative was flipped on its head. The brothers' lawyer, Leslie Abramson, dropped a bombshell that no one saw coming. Lyle and Erik took the stand and in tearful, gut-wrenching testimony claimed they weren't killers, but victims. They alleged that for years, they had endured a secret life of horrific physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at the hands of their father, Jose, while their mother, Kitty, was a passive. According to their testimony, the night of the murders was an act of desperation. They claimed their father had threatened to kill them to keep them quiet. They said they genuinely believed their lives were in imminent danger. They killed, they argued, not for money, but for survival. It was kill or be killed. This defense strategy was shocking. The question was no longer just if they did it, They had confessed to that, but why? The public was torn. Who were you to believe? Were these calculated, manipulative sociopaths who concocted an elaborate story of abuse to escape justice? Or were they deeply traumatized young men who had been pushed to the absolute breaking point? The trial became a referendum on family secrets, wealth, and the nature of victimhood. The jury box became the epicenter of this national debate. Friends and relatives were called to testify, some supporting the abuse claims. The first trial was actually 2 trials, with 2 separate juries, one for each brother, sitting in the same courtroom. After months of testimony, the result was stunning. Both juries were deadlocked. They couldn't reach a unanimous verdict. Some jurors believed the abuse claims and voted for manslaughter, while others saw only greed and voted for first-degree murder. The judge was forced to declare a mistrial. For a moment, it seemed the brothers might have found a path to a lesser sentence, or even freedom. But the prosecution wasn't giving up. A second trial was scheduled, but this time, there would be some major changes. The judge from the first trial was replaced, and the new judge, Stanley Weisberg, made a critical ruling. The second trial would not be televised. More importantly, he severely limited the defense's ability to present the abuse allegations as a direct cause for the killings. Without the cameras and with a much stricter legal framework, the second trial had a completely different feel. The defense's emotional core was neutered. This time, the prosecution's narrative of greed and impatience dominated the proceedings. The jury was not swayed by the abuse defense. In 1996, after a much shorter trial, both Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder. There was no ambiguity this time. The verdict was clear. The judge sentenced them both to life in prison without the possibility of parole. They were initially sent to separate prisons, their close bond finally severed by the correctional system. For years, they had no contact. However, in 2018, after a change in California prison regulations, Lyle was transferred to the same facility as Erik. After more than 2 decades apart, the Menendez brothers were reunited behind bars. Today, they remain in prison, serving their life sentences. But the case continues to fascinate and divide people. The central question remains unanswered, and perhaps it always will be. Were Lyle and Erik Menendez cold-blooded, privileged killers who murdered their parents for an inheritance? Or were they the desperate, traumatized victims of a lifetime of unspeakable abuse, pushed to an act of ultimate survival? The story of the Menendez brothers is a dark, tangled web of wealth, privilege, and violence, leaving us to wonder about the secrets that can hide behind the most perfect of facades. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating cases like this one.